They say that there's a game for everyone, no matter the genre. Appreciate chill vibes? Animal Crossing might suit you. Want the most frustrating experience known to man, yet have next to no reward regardless of the risk taken? Escape from Tarkov is your game. This FPS, relying on some of the most realistic gunplay, remains to be a challenge to most, yet child's play to some. Sure, there's different strokes for different folks and all that, but the question surrounding Tarkov, for me at least, remains to be, is this fun? This is HD Video. Before we get into it, we need to understand what Escape from Tarkov is. Tarkov gives players their own characters to level up through gameplay, while also throwing them into a harsh, ruthless environment that, most of the time, has nothing of importance to the player. And as such, the new user experience for Tarkov is absolutely abysmal. Playing Tarkov without someone to help you understand not only the mechanics, but what to loot and where to loot is a nigh impossible task. On top of that, players are matched with other players, given no maps, and are told to extract within the time limit, else they lose everything they have on their character. If they die before extracting, they lose everything on their character. And the worst part? I've somehow found this to be the most fun part of Tarkov. Weighing the risk of going forward towards absolutely horrifying gunshots, or instead just camping it out in the bush, is some of the most intense gameplay Tarkov has to offer. Let alone weapon malfunctions, firefights, and roaming NPCs here to ruin your looting experience. It's fun, exciting, and gets the blood pumping. And yet, that is also my biggest grievance with Tarkov. There is so much risk within the game, arguably too much, and often there is not enough of a reward. I wholeheartedly understand that this is the main draw to the game. However, the same difficulty is what makes the game so hard to appeal to new players. Why? 2 words. I'm going to talk about 2 kinds of feedback loops: positive feedback loops and negative feedback loops. A positive feedback loop is a mechanic in a game that will reward the player for doing a task, making it easier to earn the next reward, which would make it easier to earn the next reward, and so on. As the term feedback loop. One of the most famous positive feedback loops is in Call of Duty. I'm going to use the original Modern Warfare 2 from 2009 because the positive feedback loop in that almost went absolutely unchecked. If you get 3 kills, you get a UAV for the kill streak. That UAV will make it easier to get more kills by seeing the enemy location on a minimap. As such, continually getting kills assisted by the UAV will allow the player to extend the kill streak into Harrier missiles. And those Harrier missiles will lead to a chopper gunner, and so forth, all culminating into a 25-player kill streak, earning the tactical nuke and ending the game in the player's favor. A negative feedback loop is similar to a positive feedback loop, but in the opposite manner. A negative feedback loop is quite present in XCOM Enemy Unknown, as the loss of a soldier will require an inexperienced soldier placed into the front lines of battle, and may cause the loss of another soldier or itself, eventually reaching a critical point where the player will not have any experienced soldiers enough to continue the game, essentially soft-locking it, forcing the player to create a new save file and try again. This exact gameplay scenario had Firaxis made the narrative decision to have XCOM forces lose in Enemy Unknown and become the underdog in the sequel, even though Enemy Unknown's ending repels the alien threat. The thing about Tarkov is that it has both of these feedback loops in varying degrees, as any good game should. The varying feedback of the game is what determines the difficulty of the game, as well as the gameplay experience the player is faced with. Ultimately, the balance between positive and negative feedback loops is what determines the player experience and their opinion on it. This balance is called the difficulty curve. The game can't be too easy because then it becomes too boring. The game can't become too hard because then it will become unplayable. Basically, the balance of the feedback loops is what determines fun. This right here, gold. It is fun in its purest form. F-U and N don't stand for shit. And just like Plankton's view on fun, fun is subjective. There is rarely an end-all be-all fun for the whole family. I'm not saying they don't exist, there are many examples of those that are, but what I find boring may be drastically different from what others find boring, or what I find challenging, others might find boring. The FromSoft Souls games are shining examples of that. Some people are just not able to reach the difficulty curve, and that's entirely okay. I don't expect Apex pros and Call of Duty bros to go play Tarkov because it's an entirely different beast of a game with an entirely different difficulty curve. Dying in Tarkov is similar to the negative feedback loop that's present in XCOM Enemy Unknown. Losing gear, weapons, food, even water can set a player back weeks if killed at the wrong moment. This risk is exemplified by the ruthless combat approach Tarkov takes, where ammo types are pertinent information, as well as gun maintenance, map knowledge, spawn locations, and so much more. It is a hard game, no questions asked, and I don't think I need to be the one to tell you that. Its reputation has done that talking for me. But on the other side with that very same gun, the player that just killed you may very well be on the receiving end of a positive feedback loop. In Tarkov, eliminating opponents is an opportunity to take their gear, weapons, food, water, fucking duct tape on a hard drive, to then go and attempt an extract. Continually doing this isn't as straightforward as Modern Warfare 2 though, and that's where the argument for Tarkov's positive feedback loop kind of ends. Gaining new gear isn't a guarantee for more kills in the future, unlike Call of Duty where certain kill streak rewards all but guarantee a kill or 5. Tarkov's positive feedback is more or less dependent on how well the player handles said gear, which is often equivalent to their knowledge and experience with the game itself after hours of trial and error and research from third-party sources. So how does Tarkov deal with these loops, both positive and negative? First, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, playable scavengers. Scavs, as many people call them, are a randomly generated character that the player is given to play within a certain time intervals. As such, scav gameplay is entirely different. NPCs that will normally shoot you on sight now look the other way as long as you haven't attempted to blow one of their friends' heads off. Extracting as a scav will also allow the player to keep all items that scav has collected, including the weapon the scav generated with. This is a huge divergence from the negative feedback loop the player will experience, as running out of resources, while not impossible, is less likely, again as long as you extract. Other players are also playing as scavs, and on top of that, other PMCs, or just regular player characters, are also playing as well. While other scav players are more or less friendly now, that wasn't always the case. Even so, as a scav, a player cannot be dependent on random players' actions. This is Tarkov after all. There have been plenty of times where I would find a Vector or an M4 on a dead PMC, only to be killed by another player's scav watching me loot the body. And if you don't extract as a scav, while you don't lose those things that you earned in other matches, you do lose what you collected in that time frame. Sometimes that's more than 20 minutes down the drain, a devastating blow, especially to that of a newer player. Continually spiraling and losing progress is not fun. The player can try harder, but nothing guarantees progress. So how else does Tarkov affect the feedback loops? A nuke. Every once in a while, Escape from Tarkov will reset progress for all players in the game. The reasoning behind this is that the game is still in beta, and in order to add more maps, features, etc. into the game, they must reset the game for proper testing purposes. Personally, I find that to be bullshit. The wipe has become so integral to the meta of the game that I cannot see the game surviving without it. Deleting every player's progress and having everyone start from scratch is what draws players who have previously dropped the game right back into it. As servers are populated with more people, many of which may be new, and all of which are equipped with the same basic starting gear all other players have. Starting anew is the lifeblood of Tarkov, and it keeps the game afloat. There isn't much of a story, and the missions are repetitive fetch or kill quests, and there's a base that can only be upgraded in a linear fashion. It's not like I'm able to put a rug that I found on customs onto the floor or anything. It's just a rundown hallway that upgrades into a less rundown hallway with a crypto mine. While the base upgrades leaves a lot to be desired, the progress swipes might just be some of the most fun moments in Tarkov. When everyone is focused and brought back to the start of the game, it becomes a whole lot easier to get kills, and subsequently get killed. With far more populated servers, relatively similar weaponry and ammunition, I find myself no longer blaming the game for letting other players use better gear, but more or less blaming myself like I should have been the whole time. I know I missed a lot about Tarkov, so feel free to tell me what I got wrong. I like the game enough to have synced about 200-ish hours in it, so it's definitely fun, I will admit. Most of the time that I've dedicated to it, though, was immediately post-wipe. Additionally, changing my mindset on the items in Tarkov in general helped me immensely. Sure, I worked for these items, but at the end of the day, they're just ones and zeros, nothing to get upset about. That dissociation regarding my attachment to my items has definitely helped me and my mental state, and ultimately created a sense of carelessness and freedom that I need to play the game. None of what I gather ever matters, because if I die then, who cares? I don't know. I might just be playing this game for the wrong reasons.